Jai Ma, Durga Devi here. It's Sunday, it's the 7th night of Navratri, and we just had our Warrior's Journey group session, monthly group session here a few hours ago. And one of the participants asked if I would make a little video about part of the conversation that we had today, which is a challenge for me being of a Vata nature brain. I was definitely in the flow of the conversation. And if something wise came out of my mouth, I really can't take credit for it, but I'll do my best to reflect upon the conversation and share what I think she was referring to and what might be helpful. She felt it might be a helpful message for others to hear. So please know that this was part of a 2-hour group conversation today for Warrior's Journey. And we've been journeying through the chakras, and we are now on Ajna Chakra, the third eye, which is the center of not just intuition, but where duality dissolves. So there's a merging, a coming together, a oneness. You could say this is where yoga comes in to play. The conversation was multifaceted. We talked about to have accessibility from this idea of dissolving separateness and moving into oneness, we have to have a good foundation. So if the lower chakras are not healthy, it's not possible to get to this higher level of thinking. So this brought about a conversation of lower nature and higher nature, and then the collective consciousness or the psychology of especially the United States right now. So the psychology of the United States right now collectively is not of a higher nature. It's apparent that the polarization has gotten so severe that this division is so clear that there's not higher level thinking. Because we were trying to find a conversation that would help us talk about and work out in our own minds and hearts, like why so much violence? How can someone just go out and decide the only way to go forward is to kill this person? What happens? How could that happen? And so we talked about, think about the psychology, how low that is of feeling like you don't belong here in this world on earth, that there's no community for you. This total feeling of isolation and despair and separateness. When you're on a spiritual path, there's a reason for sangha, because, life is hard. We all know this. Life is hard. And when you're on a spiritual path and you have this longing to really live from a higher space, to live from the heart and above, to really merge into someone else's heart, to see souls rather than labels and roles, to really begin to dissolve us and them, to see sameness rather than difference. It takes a lot of courage, and you have to have a good steady foundation. And how these acts of violence are coming from a place of instability and lack of support. And just think if more people were practicing yoga and especially had sangha, a group support system in which they could come together and have these conversations in a safe space and to talk about how they're feeling, and then to understand that their feelings are temporary and emotional states are temporary. Sometimes, we say, I'm so depressed. Well, that's temporary. And being someone who's working on themselves knows this and can pick themselves up, can lift themselves up. But someone who doesn't know and doesn't have the support sometimes cannot pick themselves up. And so they go into this downward spiral of lower nature, and violence is of the very lowest nature. I mean, it's animalistic, right? You think about the jungle and how the lion just, it must kill to survive. And so this is part of our lower nature. And feeling this way takes us into this place of unable to see or to listen to someone else. And then we also had a conversation about when you are talking and when you are with people and you do have influence, whether you're part of your community, a family, which we all have somebody, or something higher like a political platform, that your speech and how you speak is really important, and to have a clear intention. Can you go in without your own agenda? Can you go in to really be curious, to really listen to someone else? And I think a lot of the violence is stemming from people not being heard, feeling like their voice doesn't matter, feeling like no one is listening to them. These are really big problems in our society. It's a society condition of creating more separation. And the more this duality increases and the more the polarization, the more the violence is increasing. And we're seeing it every day. And as we had our session today, there was another violent act here in Michigan. You know, I saw it. It came through in my email. At a church, at a place of worship. What is happening? What is needed? What is the solution? The solution is to practice, to have togetherness, to have spaces where people can come together, where there's support. The sangha that we have in Warrior's Journey is so important. It's an important part of becoming what? This is the program for next year. Becoming what? What are you becoming? Are you becoming more violent? Are you becoming more isolated, more depressed? That's not the way to go. Is that how you want to go? So, to lift ourselves up, what does it take? Sometimes it takes being accountable to someone else or to a group. And that's why the group programs have been really great. They've been really helpful for people. And for me, you know, I've been practicing over 20 years, like 25 years, and it's really helpful for me. It holds me accountable for myself, and I'm still practicing. And to be able to say, oh, I know where that came from. That came from my ego. Or that's an old pattern, an old behavior. And guess what? I don't want to continue with that old behavior. I would like to move beyond that behavior. And I have a longing to move up, to improve, to be helpful, to have a purpose, for my life to be meaningful, to influence others in a positive way, to help others. These conversations are part of what happens with Warrior's Journey. And this is part of the conversation today. And I think the gist of it was that there's a lot of isolation and there's a lot of people feeling like they have to pick a side. You know, are you left or right? Are you this or that? Do you identify with this or that? Instead of allowing these things to dissolve and becoming more open and more spacious, to be more inclusive, to have more compassion, to live in a way that uplifts others as well as yourself and dissolves this duality. This duality is killing us, literally killing us. So to come together. I hope this resonates with you. Please know if you're interested in something like what I'm talking about, you can go to houseofyogavirtual.com and look at the program for next year, 2026, Warrior's Journey. The program is called Becoming. And maybe just take a moment and ask yourself, what are you becoming? And are you living in alignment with your beliefs? Or do you feel trapped? Do you feel stuck? And do you feel alone and isolated because all of these feelings are hard to navigate alone if you're not already on this spiritual warrior path, if you don't have the tools? But they're not impossible, and they're definitely not permanent and can be navigated, especially with a little bit of support. So I hope you'll consider joining us. I hope you'll consider at least connecting with me if you need some help navigating. You can always just send me an email, lovedurgadevi@gmail.com. Blessings to you. Jai Ma.